Hi, welcome back to Shell's Pearls of Wisdom. I am still here with the lovely Kelsey. Hi, Kelsey.
Hello, hello,
And once again, AKA
Miss Betsy Boss.
Betsy Boss. I love it. We've been sipping some more wine still. I think she still has her truly. And we've just been talking off camera, and I'm getting to know her more and more. And I knew I liked her. I know I like her now for sure because she is funny, and I love her potty mouth, and this is great. So we make a great, perfect little ebony and ivory over here.
Yes, we're very different but very alike.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. It's a little weird when you start talking to someone. You're like, really? So do I.
It's like, are we twins?
Right. I'm telling you. I mean, we might have been separated at birth. I'm just saying. But but basically, we're gonna kind of dive right into this whole entire pearls of wisdom here. If you guys joined us for the first part, Kelsey kind of shared a little bit of her story about her struggle with self-love and having to figure out how to love herself past what other people have said to her and thoughts that she might have had of herself. And she also talked about how she's also had some mental stuff going on when it came to like having suicidal thoughts or having, just anxiety and overall having just not a good set mind frame. And a lot of it stems from her as early as you said 6 years old, 7 years old, something like that.
Like 8-ish.
Yeah. So she's 24 now, soon to be 25, and so that's a long time to have these kind of things going on.
Yeah.
So the
most of my life.
Right. I mean, it's gonna be for unfortunately because we're women, it's gonna be for the rest of our life that we have issues like this.
Yeah.
But one of the last things that we were talking about before we took our first break was how when you go through something traumatic, even if it's something as being teased or bullied or seeing maybe someone die in front of you or just these things that can leave an emotional scar for the rest of your life, is considered post-traumatic stress syndrome, also known as PTSD.
PTSD.
PTSD. I always get the letters. I'm dyslexic, so I get the mixed up all the time.
Post-traumatic stress disorder.
So the one thing I definitely wanted Kelsey to be able to talk about with her story is her suffering from this, because a lot of people do not realize that this disorder does not just affect our military. Even though, yes, it became very well known because of military and because of the fact it was just overlooked a lot with our military. So it was drilled into our head about it because of that. But what they don't talk about are people like myself, people like Kelsey, other young women, other young men who've just gone through something that just left them scarred. And still to this day, something can come up that can trigger these deep emotional scars that make us go back to that little girl or that little boy, back to when you were 8, back to when you were 12, 13, and all these moments of our life that we thought that we totally forgot about, that we totally are over, and then all of a sudden we find ourselves back in that state of mind. And that is exactly what post-traumatic stress syndrome is. It's when it allows you to go back to that state of mind that you were in from something that triggers you. So, Kelsey, I just want you to just kind of enlighten us a little bit on what it's like to have this disorder and what are maybe some of your triggers that brings you back to that state.
Yeah, so kind of in part one, I talked about mental health, and mental health issues, for me at least, were genetic, but it got significantly worse because I was so severely bullied and kind of, chewed to the side. And when I went to college, I made the very bold move. I moved to Chicago. I moved 1,000 miles away from my family and friends, just picked up and I went, I'm getting out of here. And I went to my dream school. I went to an art school. I went to Columbia College, Chicago. I'm very proud of my alma mater. And the reason I loved it is because every weirdo went to Columbia. Everyone was weird at Columbia. No matter what I said or did, how I dressed, never outcasted. And that helped me a lot. It was fantastic being in a, you know, community that beautiful and accepting. I was like, oh, this is home. And then my freshman year of college, my first semester, I got my first boyfriend ever. Growing up, I went to school K through 12 with the same kids. So it's like, even, you know, puberty was doing them well. I'm like, they're really cute. They broke my crayon in 3rd grade. Like, I knew everyone. I didn't like it.
Yeah.
I want nothing to do with them, but also it was just like, at that point in my life, I was so career driven that I was like, I gotta get my grades up. I gotta do this and this and this. Focus on college. So when I went to college, I was finally doing pretty okay. I got my first boyfriend ever, which should be really exciting. And it wasn't. This is when I start to get teary-eyed. It's a very difficult subject, and it's been
okay. We're here to support you.
There's gonna be like tears down my face, but I'm gonna continue talking. I'm not gonna just like lose it on camera.
Okay.
So my first boyfriend ever, he was a transfer student. We met during my first show I ever did at Columbia. I was crew, he was cast. And I walked in like tech week. I just kind of messaged him being like, if you need any extra hands, whether it's just handing out flyers, whatever, like I want to be a part of it. And like, can you be like a backstage costume hand? I'm like, great, this is what I want to do. Like I went to college for costumes and fashion. And he literally had like a Romeo and Juliet moment. Like I walked in, you know, it's their first rehearsal of tech. And I was like, hi, do we know where this person is? She was the assistant stage manager. And he's like, oh, yeah, like I'll here, follow me. Like he was so, I don't want to say starstruck by me, but I was like, oh my God. And within like a week or two, you know, he was very close to me. We're talking. He's trying to be like physically kind of intimate, and I was never really intimate in my life. So I was like, nah. But we started dating throughout the show, and everyone's like, oh my God, that's so cute. Oh my God, you guys are so cute together. And I was just excited to have a boyfriend and friends in college, and life was turning around. But he ended up being very mentally and emotionally abusive to me, which turned into sexually abusive. This is not true for all actors. This is my personal experience, but actors feed off audience energy. And he wanted me to be like a full house audience, constantly giving him energy, this attention, I love you, and bowing down, and I couldn't. And because of that, you're not good enough, you're worthless, you're this. But then the next moment he's like, oh my God, I can't wait for our future when we buy a house. And I was like, wait, what? And those things never really set me off, because it's my first relationship. I kind of thought this was somewhat normal. I'm like, it wasn't until we started getting intimate where I was kind of like, this might be a little bit much. But I lost my virginity through he's like, okay, like you're ready. I'm like, I don't think I am. And you know, he put on a condom, and he tried to come back on me, and I tried to, you know, fight him a little, but he was just physically bigger, and I just kind of had to accept what happened. And I ended up just blacking out. I might have actually physically passed out, and I really don't know. And so that's really hard. It's something that, you know, is kind of built up in society, something that's big and special,
yeah,
got ripped out of ripped and taken away from me. And that kind of continued happening through our relationship. If I try to put my foot down saying, no, I don't want to have sex, it's like, you worthless whore, how dare, like, Lord knows what would come out of his mouth.
Oh wow. So he
It
wasn't
was
just
like,
physically abusive, he was also emotionally and mentally.
yeah, it's like flipping a switch. I never kind of knew what was happening. So, on the outside, I'm doing fine and dandy, but like, I was terrified of him, to be honest. But I'm like, no, this is what relationships really are. This is what you want. You want a relationship. He sees a future. He wants, like, and the only thing I can ever thank him for was he's the one that kind of went, hey, you seem a little on edge. Have you thought about going to the counseling center downstairs? And luckily they were able to kind of diagnose me with anxiety and depression, and I was able to kind of get that somewhat under control. But I became so terrified. I was walking on eggshells. I just kind of had to do what he said, and even if I did it, I could be in trouble. Like, it was really messed up at the end of the day. And people, it's like, well, he was your boyfriend. I'm like, it was against my will. That is rape. Like, and so later on, what I discovered with, future boyfriends is that physical pain when being intimate, I can black out. I don't know where I am, who I am, and all I see in front of me is him. And I've tried to kill some, ex-boyfriends in bed, because I'm thinking it's him. And I feel so hopeless, but it's also like, this is my second chance, and I'm trying to, fight. And so my first relationship ever has not ruined relationships for me, but now I have to kind of like have this talk and explain a possibility of what could happen. And for a while, I didn't even know what triggers were. I didn't know what set me off, why I did this, because then sometimes it would happen in public, and I'm like, I'm going off, I'm freaking out. What the fuck is going on? Like,
Right.
and it could be just as simple as someone's cologne, like the same cologne as him. So it's a very scary time, and 1 in 5 women in college right now will be raped on campus, which is a very terrifying fact. It's like, let's not even talk about like the depression, anxiety most of us are living with. It's like, now women have this extra layer. It's like getting catcalled on the street, I don't even hear anymore, but it's like physically having that happen to you just adds a whole new layer.
Yeah.
And I think you kind of talked about this with another pinup, is just like, it changes everything. Something that should be so nice and wonderful and so innocent is no longer not.
Yeah. Wow. So, I mean, that was heavy. I'm not gonna lie. Not gonna lie. I'm gonna give you a virtual hug right now.
Everyone take a deep breath with me.
Yeah. So let me explain something that a lot of men don't get about women. That this might be an aha moment. And some women too. Some women are kind of naive to this too.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care if you're in a relationship, boyfriend, girlfriend, husband and wife. I don't care. No means no.
Yeah.
So
Maybe means no.
yeah. No, everything means no. Until I am literally holding your penis in my hand and probably helping you insert it into my vagina, it's probably a no until that kind of gets to that point, because it is something that it can turn to a no from a yes like that. That's another thing that sometimes guys don't get. We could be down all the way into the point where you are about to seal the deal, and we can be like, no, no, I changed my mind. Yes, does it suck for you? Probably, probably. But you know what sucks worse? Being raped. So I want you guys to take your blue balls and suck it
Go
up.
jack off in the corner. Go to the bathroom.
Yeah, because you won't be emotionally, mentally scarred for the rest of your life because you had to relieve yourself. But what you will do is you will leave that woman or the man that you've done this to broken for the rest of their God given life. And that is just what it is. Kelsey, I do not expect for you to ever heal from this 100%. I will not be one of these people that tell you time will heal all wounds. That is not true for everything. I don't believe in that statement. I think time helps things better, but do they ever get completely healed? I don't believe so.
And that was the first thing one of my therapists told me, is just like, I'm not going to tell you you're ever going to be 100% healed. It's not like Men in Black where they have the little thing and it flashes and you forget everything. Right. She's like, you went through a very traumatic experience, and unfortunately you will never be 100% healed. And it's just something I have to kind of accept. Yeah. Unfortunately, I'm way better. I'm handling it better, and I'm able to tell my story, because if you don't tell your story and try to keep everything so hush hush, no one's ever going to talk about it, and no one's ever going to get better. Right. And as I said, it happens to 1 in 5 college women on campus. Yeah. Like, it's happening all around us, whether we want to accept it or not, no matter what safety measures I take walking home that night.
Yeah.
You know,
it's a little bit of a problem right now too in high school. Date rape is one of the number one rapes that is occurring with women, is date rape, because once again, these guys just don't understand things can start and end just as quickly. And I think the young mind, not to give these guys an excuse, but I feel like the young mind of a teenage boys, they have a little bit harder time of that whole entire understanding no. Not so much as they don't know what the word means, but if they're already revved up and they're ready to go, and then all of a sudden the girl's like, no, they're not able to put the brakes on like we want them to. So that's when being a parent and guiding your kids, and really, I mean, I don't know how many times I've had this conversation with my boys about sex in general, and just knowing that if your girlfriend, I don't care if she was just sucking your penis, if all of a sudden now she's like, I'm done, I'm ready to go home, guess what? She's done and she's ready to go home.
Right. And they can say the same thing back to her and be like, just kidding, I'm done, you know. And I think it starts really young. It starts at a, you know, even back like on the playground, it's like, this boy just pulled my hair, or, you know, tried to touch me. It's like, well, that's because he likes you. Boys will be boys. And it's boys like, no, they will be not responsible for their actions.
Right.
Like,
yeah. So
it starts young.
It kind of sucks. It sucks to be a woman. It sucks to be a woman in many different aspects, because our power is limited, especially when you have a person that outweighs you by however many pounds and has a physical strength that is more powerful. It's really scary, and a lot of women go into self-preservation, or if I'm saying it right, where if it's happening to you, you actually go into a robotic type shutdown, That's probably why you don't remember, or if you blacked out, or all that kind of stuff, because our body has built-in mechanisms to help us deal with things like this. And that's why you're allowed to pass out or not remember, because they're trying to help you get through this horrible experience.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that you have had help, and I'm glad that you feel as though you are getting better, because that is what's most important, is the way you feel
Yes.
about it. And that kind of like will let me do a little segue, because we did talk about that you do have a guy in your life that you seem to be really excited about.
I do.
And that makes me happy, because that means that you have come a little bit of a full circle from something so tragic, that you're able to have a good outlook on relationships. So how is that relationship going?
Oh, he's great. He spoils me to the point where I had to be like, I'm sorry, I'm a cold-hearted bitch. I'm just not used to this. 'Cause like we had to have that talk, and I had to explain my past and the two other boyfriends I had after him. And it's like, it's not that they were bad, we just weren't matches, but they were also nice to me. But this new guy's great. Like, he spoils me rotten. He's like, we're gonna do all of your favorite things for your birthday. I'm like, or we can just like watch The Little Mermaid in PJs at my apartment. He's like, no, like, I'm gonna get your favorite cider and I'm gonna get your favorite food. And I'm like, okay, sure. So I finally found someone who treats me like the queen I am.
There you go, girlfriend. I love
It
it.
gets better. Not everyone's a piece of shit.
I
So
mean,
that pearl of
a
wisdom
lot of
then.
people are pieces of shit, but they don't all stink.
Yes.
Um, that is beautiful.
You just gotta recognize if it feels uncomfortable, quickly run. Just like, don't even try to be like, well, maybe they can change. They're not changing. Just no matter how hard they try, it's not like,
I love the saying, when people show you who they are, believe them.
it's like people can lose weight and be healthy and do this and that, but it's like, as soon as you see that one bad side, that's who they are. And like, no matter how hard they work to not be that, that is their hard wiring. It's something that's probably never going to change.
The core of
Yeah,
who they
the
are.
core of them. So as soon as you see it, just go.
Women get stuck in that whole entire
Save yourself.
fix them stage, where I think I can fix them. Well, if I just can do this, and it's like, no. First of all, you shouldn't want to be with somebody that you have to fix.
Yeah, that's my thing.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna tell you, Kelsey, if you feel like you gotta fix them, this is not an old vintage car that we're tinkering with. No. You want to buy your car brand new, everything spanking new, and you want to be the first owner to break it in. If you gotta rewire and redo.
Oh, don't worry. My therapist called me out. She's like, you seem to have this trend of want to fix people. I'm like, no need to call me out like that. Like, I know. My God, that's so rude. But like, thank you.
Like, rude much.
It's like, I'm aware, but But yeah, this is the first one I haven't had to like fix. I'm like, okay, you can stay for a minute.
Fair. That's what I'm saying. And that's when you know that that's a inkling that things are going to be on the right, because when things are right, they should be right. You shouldn't have to mold and fix and tinker, especially when you're perfect to them. So and then vice versa. If somebody gets into your life and they're trying to turn you or change you, that's also not a good sign.
Right. It's crazy to not think I have to hide a part of myself or be ashamed of this or that. And like, oh,
I mean, as soon as you start talking about him, let me tell you, Kelsey, you went from like so tell us about your new guy. Like, you just did this like 360
degree sunshine.
Yes,
I'll know. Yeah,
I can tell it. Like, you beamed through the screen. Like, all of a sudden it was like, oh. So I don't know who this guy is, but obviously he is doing something for Kelsey that is making Kelsey smile like this, and that is amazing.
He's gonna watch this later on and be like, that's me. And I'll be like, is it you or is it my cat? We'll see. My cat also does this for me, kind of.
Ah!
He's been a little rude tonight, but
I have a feeling that
it's the
it's
human. It's
I
the
think it's
boo.
the human. I think so too.
Yeah.
I
No,
think so too.
he's really good to me. It's still new.
Yeah.
But we're
Well,
like out of the honeymoon phase finally. So like it's like, okay, here's our true
I was
self.
going to say that's
All
when you can tell
going
the true
good.
self. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes. Yes.
yeah,
Now,
he lasted in the honeymoon a little bit long. I'm like, reality. Let's go.
you almost want to like put test fillers out there. Like you're like,
Exactly. I'm
can
like, I'm
I?
not trying to waste our time here.
You're right. It's like, can I shit in front of him yet? Let's
Oh,
see.
he doesn't know that yet.
Uh-oh. Okay. Let me know how that one goes. That was
He
a fun
doesn't
one.
know. Girls don't poop, they cry.
Right. I invested in poopery. It's the best thing invented in life.
Oh my God, it's so good. Yeah, but I live in like a studio. Like I don't have a door to my bathroom. Like you have to like shut the closet door and like go through the closet. Like you can hear everything. And so it's just like he doesn't know that yet. And he's like, let's go out for lunch. I'm like, yes, so I can go to
You
the
go poop, right?
I'll learn one day.
I tell you, my husband didn't think I pooped for like the first like 5 years of our marriage. He's like, when do you go to the bathroom? I'm like, don't
You
worry
don't
about
need
all
to know.
that. You don't need to know
I
that.
don't. I
You
just
don't need to
cry.
know.
I cry in the shower. It's fine.
Before we wrap this up, I do want to just know a little bit of your pinup journey. So just to kind of get me a brief little synopsis of what truly got Missy into the whole entire red lipstick, Betty Boop pinup life.
Yeah. So as I kind of told you right before all of this, my pinup journey kind of started pretty young. Going back to middle school, when everyone starts really kind of becoming aware of their body, the ideal woman was, these incredibly thin, incredibly tall, like supermodels. That's how everyone wanted to look. And that was never going to be my body type at the end of the day. Like, I don't care how well I ate, worked out 4 hours a day in the gym. It just wasn't going to happen. And I love fashion. I've loved fashion for quite some time. I went to college for it. And then I also have a love of history. Growing up in the greater Boston area, I was kind of just surrounded by history constantly, but also my dad is a huge history buff. And so between kind of being interested in history and fashion, I started learning the history of fashion and really getting nitty gritty. And my dad and I both are just weirdly interested in World War II. The ins and outs of it's just fascinating no matter what. But because of that, I found pinup and I was like, what's this? Yeah. And it's like, oh, kind of using women as sex objects. I'm kind of looking at it. I'm like, but none of them are real thin. Like none of that. I'm like, people consider this attractive, like hourglass, like curvier, softer, and like, yeah, like this was the ideal woman. And it wasn't until Twiggy in the 1960s, who was the first kind of naturally rail thin person to be on the cover of a magazine, that changed for fashion society. But it's like, oh, curvy women could be attractive. And that's when I started learning about Marilyn Monroe.
Yep.
Oh, the most beautiful, the sexiest person ever to walk this planet is Marilyn Monroe. I'm like, she's not real thin. So pinup has always sparked my interest. That came as early as 12 years old. In high school, I went as like a pinup to a Halloween party. I wasn't sexy. I had a little cardigan, high-waisted shorts, but like did the Betty Page bangs. Like I just started researching it more, and it kind of assured me that I didn't have to always be this rail thin model. And for years and years, my friends have been joking, like, why aren't you a pinup model yet? Why aren't you on magazines and doing this? I'm like, oh, that's not like a real thing. And then we Googled like pinup in Chicago. and like pinup competitions came about, and like car shows. And the first one I ever did was Motoblock this past summer. And I was like, oh, and I got to see so many women in the community. I'm like, oh, a lot of us are like curvy and average. You know, there's a few really skinny people. There's, you know, more plus size. There's just everyone of all different. Yeah, so many different shapes and sizes and races and backgrounds.
Isn't it beautiful?
So that's when I like officially declared like, oh, like this is something I can like really make a part of my life. And I've always had a vintage style to me. Like I wear these, you know, little bandanas all the time. And everyone's like, I love your Rosie the Riveter. I'm like, this is healthy. Well, thank you.
Like, this is me. This is all me.
I'm like, no, this is just who I am. But thank you.
Right.
I have one in every color.
Me. Yeah.
So, you know, my pinup journey started pretty young at 12 years old. And I'm also like a baby pinup because I'm new to like this community. But it's kind of been a part of my life, half of my life now, which is wild to think about.
Well, I think that you fit right in with I don't even care about your outward appearance. I think you represent the pinup world in the fact of having a rock star personality. You're kind of like giving that fixture tiara. Like that's one thing that I love about the pinup world.
Oh my God, behind the scenes, every you know, for the stage, you will see me go down the line. I'm like, teeth, okay, because I worked in film and TV in the costume department where that was quite really my job. And so now every competition or runway show, photo shoot, I do it to every single person down the line. I'm like, I'm fixing that crown, girl. I'm not gonna let you go up there looking stupid.
No, and that is the world of pinup. When people look at this, they kept asking, oh, so you're in a beauty pageant? You're in a beauty I'm like, it's not a beauty pageant.
Yeah, it's way more fun and
not,
accepting.
right, it's not even like that. It's a
similar setup, but it's such a different
it's not
vibe.
I hate to say it because I really want to be blunt and be like, everybody's not beautiful that is in it, but that doesn't mean that they're not going to be the ones that like take the crown, because it's not just about your outward appearance. It's about these women who are strong, very, very confident, very like, I am who I am, and I am here.
I love myself. Exactly. Yeah. It's like set up like a beauty pageant per se, where we go up.
Because you have to have organization. I feel like that's
right. You know, we answer that question, but it's more than that.
It's so much more than that. And that's why I'm doing this right here, because I needed people to see the people behind the glitz and the glamour and the lashes and the lipstick. I want them to see that these women, including yourself, are these more bigger, powerful than life personalities. And it's not just about when we put on this. It's
not all.
Yeah, it's not that. It's so much more.
That's like such a tiny part of it. I just remember people like, oh, so you're gonna pose in lingerie, and you know, kind of thought of it as like a sex work kind of thing. And I'm like, first off, don't be shaming sex workers like that. But also, I'm like, no, I'm in a dress that's down to my knees. Like it's not like sexy.
But you know what? I don't know who else I told this to. I was like, but one of my sexiest photo shoots, still signed to this day, was in a mermaid style like business suit, where it was like the business jacket and like the real tight mermaid skirt. And I tell you one thing, I had not an inch of skin showing, but I felt the sexiest I've ever felt in that outfit. And it's just because it's just something about it just made me feel confident. And so
that's what's sexy about it, is how confident you were.
Confident. So
I encourage so many people to do it once.
I asked like almost every one of my girlfriends, will you do pinup with me? And they're all like, no, I'm not doing it. I'm like, you don't understand. And then I had to explain it to them. Then they're like, well, maybe. I'm like, give it a chance.
Right. So. It's just, I mean, I went to art school. I couldn't think of like a more accepting community. Like, even if I don't know these girls super well, like if I need your help, they will drop everything and help you, which is outstanding.
Girl.
Super body positive. And it's like,
I mean,
And then we just like
it's
share
almost,
a bond over vintage clothing. Like at the end of the day, that's all
it's
it is.
almost not real when you think about it. It's almost like, God, there are women out here that are that supportive of other women. Really?
Yes. We're
That's
all fixing
crazy.
each other's crowns.
Yeah.
Like,
Yes. 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 So I'm gonna give you another little moment to kind of wrap up this segment of like your pearl of wisdom. So how would you like to address your crowd here about your?
um, God, I don't even know how to do this one because it's kind of, going off the last one. It's like the world can be shitty. The world can really suck, but there's minimum at least one person who cares about you and you will get through it. And I think, starting on my journey of getting better from this abusive relationship, I really found a whole new community in pinup. A lot of us unfortunately have similar backgrounds with that. And so there is someone, there is help. And don't be afraid to speak up, whether it's speaking, answering the question at a pinup competition or being like, this just happened to me, I need help. Like, speak up. um
That
yeah.
was perfect. That was
Okay.
perfect. That was perfect. I was looking at you like she thinks she needs to put more in that, and that is
I know,
perfect.
I'm like,
No,
what's the little bow
no,
on
that was
top,
no, that was perfect. That was perfect.
what's the little bow on top?
You don't have to put it in any prettier of a package. That was
Okay.
perfect. I promise you. And
Fantastic.
just to kind of like wrap this up even more so, like Kelsey was saying, if you, I will be displaying the 1-800 number for if you feel like you've ever been in an abusive relationship, or if you are feeling like suicidal, or you do feel alone. There are people out there. There are people that dedicate their whole life, 24 hours a day, just to be someone on the other end of a conversation. So I know I don't know everybody out here, but I do have a platform where you guys can get a hold of me. And if you want to drop me a line or, any of those kind of things, I'm sure if you want to even get a hold of Kelsey, you can leave a comment here in the comments and I will make sure that she sees them and she can address them. But just know that you do not have to be alone. You feel alone, but you're not alone.
You know, and unfortunately, too many people face these things, suffer these things. Like, you're definitely not alone. And that's why I share my story, as tough and hard and gruesome as it is to hear. I'm not alone. Like, I know there's unfortunately too many people watching this who probably have similar backgrounds to me. So,
But
yeah.
think about it, Kelsey. You might have just helped somebody today open up with their story so that they can start getting help. So your journey can be somebody else's success.
Hey.
So that's all you need to know. So I'm going to leave it on that note because I don't think there's any more perfect of a way to end this. So thank you so much, Betty Boss. Thank you for being on my show, and I would definitely love to have you here in the future and share some more of your smiles. And I'll check in to see how you and your boy is doing. And let him love you and love yourself. Okay.
I will use them.
Don't hang up. I'll be talking to you afterwards. Everybody else, thank you for joining in to Sales Pros of Wisdom. If you haven't already, hit the like button right down there and subscribe. Thank you. Bye.